What's going on YouTube? It's your host Bruce GNT, and we are back with another video. So today what we're going to focus on is Steve Bannon. He's apparently a political strategist, and he's formerly been associated with the White House and everything like that. And we're going to talk about how he is trying to pretty much put forth some type of legislation, some type of whatever, to make it so that the President Donald Trump can run for a third term. A little before that, before we jump into all this, like I said, I heard about this like 2 months ago, and I was like, all right, bro, y'all jacking him a little bit too hard. Like, relax. Why y'all trying to hustle to get this man a third term? Like, it's like, I don't know, like the whole thing is just kind of crazy, because I'm hearing it and I'm just like, okay, because I didn't pay no mind to it. Honestly, I didn't pay any mind to it. And I did a video previously on it saying, hey, look, this is crazy, it's not going to happen. But there are legit people that are really pushing for this, and I'm just sitting there like, why? Like, I don't understand why. First of all, I don't even think he wants to do it. Yes, he jokes around about it. Yes, he's talked about it. Things that I don't like, because honestly, I think he's trolling. I think he's just making a joke, because he likes to do and say things to rile people up, and it's one of the most annoying things ever. It's annoying because of his circumstances. It's not annoying the fact that he does it. It's annoying because of the circumstances and how people view him, and how they hang on every single last word, and they take it to the nth degree. The amount of people I saw talking about, he said he was gonna do it, he's gonna do it, and it's just like, oh my fucking, that's why he can't make jokes. You know what I'm saying? It may not be fair. The world isn't fair. No one cares. But before I go too far off tangent, let's jump right into this video and I guess talk about it. It's stupid, the fact that I have to talk about this, but let's jump into it.
Fox Carolina, the 10 o'clock news.
Going in depth tonight, former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon in Greenville tonight. He was the keynote speaker at the Republican Party's county convention. And hours before he took the stage, protesters were gathering outside the convention center. They say they're concerned by Bannon's calls for President Trump to get a third term in office.
Well, he's calling for civil war, and we are nonviolent, protesting that what's happening in our country, the loss of civil rights. If one person doesn't have due process, then none of us have due process. It's just a matter of when they get to you. So you think you're safe? They came for green card holders who are here legally. They've come for, college students who are here getting their advanced degrees, and we're kicking them all out because they wrote an op-ed. If he doesn't like your opinion, this is where they start. They come for the journalists. They come for those educated. They want to control the universities. The First Amendment is free speech. It's only free speech when Trump wants it, and Steve Bannon.
Now, the 22nd Amendment of the U.S. Constitution limits the number of times a person can be elected president to 2. So we asked Bannon, what is his strategy to get President Trump a third term in office, and is he calling for a civil war?
Nothing could be farther from the truth. And by the way, I think it's great that the protesters are out there. It's their First Amendment. Bill Maher, I don't know if you saw on HBO, so he handed me a copy of the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And I said, Bill, right now the president's being sued, I think, in 150 different cases about his rights as the President of the United States in the office of the presidency on the Constitution, about his example as chief executive officer. Can he cut the budget? Can he stop certain programs? Can he fire people? As commander-in-chief, the huge, Supreme Court and people talking about, can he send terrorists back out of the country to prison in Central America? And then as chief magistrate and chief law enforcement officer, can he actually go over to the Justice Department and actually be what the Constitution says, which is chief law enforcement officer? All of those are contested every day in federal court.
Now, in a follow-up with Bannon, we asked about 4 to 5 strategies that he says that he has in mind when it comes to the Constitution. We asked him if he's been in contact with President Trump about his desire to have him elected to a third term.
We're working independently, no contact with the president on this whatsoever, but I think that closer to 2020, the 2026 midterm, we'll lay out our plans. But people should understand, we're going to come up with a plan that we're going to execute on, and President Trump is going to be the president in 2029.
Now, also speaking at tonight's event was State Treasurer Curtis Loftus and Congresswoman Nancy Mace. You can hear more from them online at our website, foxcarolina.com.
I don't know what to say. Look, I understand you think he's a great president, but can you hop off his nuts for a second? Like, can you please do that? Because I don't know why people are just so gung-ho about this. It's not in the Constitution. He can't do it. Simple as that. He's old, and he's going to be older by then. Why? Like, okay, if you want to use the argument, okay, he's such a great president, we should have. So you're telling me that he is so great that we have no other eligible prospects for them to put forward and say, hey, look, continue the greatness, the legacy of Donald Trump? Is that what you're saying? That we had to put him in another time because no one else can measure up? I highly doubt that. Highly doubt that. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, no matter what people say in the comments. I'm not like conservative, I'm not really liberal. You know what I'm saying? I'm just what makes the most sense. In this election, he made the most sense. If the Democrats next time come forth and they make sense, which seemingly whoever they're trying to put up between like AOC, Gavin Newsom, shit, God forbid, Jasmine Crockett. If that's who they're trying to put up next time, I'm not voting for their asses either because they still don't make sense. But besides that point, no. And to address the woman earlier that was saying they came after green card holders and, you know, people with student visas. Green card holders, right? They're not citizens at that point. They're permanent residents. And they had to abide by certain things. So if the U.S. government and, you know, those within like the 3 branches of government were to decide, hey, look, you're doing something that, you know, goes against the U.S. message, goes against what we want to really represent over in the U.S. or whatever have you, right? They can revoke that. Now, there's legal processes to go about that, true, but if they want to, they can, because you're not a permanent resident. Because you are a permanent resident, you're not a U.S. citizen at that point. You know, people think you have a green card that gives you the ability to do whatever you want, however you want. No, not really. It doesn't. It does not. There's a lot of things you have to abide by. Trust me. Look it up. Same thing with student visas. They're like saying, oh, all they did was write an op-ed. No, quite a few of them were in protest and stopping people from going to school. Quite a few. Not all, but quite a few. And that's not just writing an op-ed. Besides that, like I'm not gonna say it's gonna start a civil war or anything like that. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know the future. If I did, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys about this. I'd be saying, hey, we have nothing to worry about. We have everything to worry about. Because if I knew the future, I would know exactly what's gonna happen. But this whole midterm thing, like, unless they're trying to elect him, like literally put him in place to be the president this next term, I don't know if they think they're gonna get the votes to get him back in a third time. Because if you were to look at it from perspective of all the people that didn't vote for Donald Trump because they don't like him are just not gonna vote for him again, and then even the people that voted for him this time, they're not gonna vote for him a third time. Like, trust me, I voted for him once. That doesn't mean I'm gonna vote for him this next coming election if he puts forth some type of legislation to make it so that he could run a third term. Which, like I said, stop jacking him. Like, it's not that deep. Like, he's gonna do his time. He's gonna do a great time. Hopefully, I hope so. And he's gonna leave, and then someone else is gonna be put forward, and they were gonna vote in that person. You know, I don't know what else I could say about that. Like, that's legitimately what it is. You can't run a third term. I don't know what, like, 3 or 4 or 5, 6 different instances you're trying to look into. Like, for what? For what? You know, it just seems stupid. It seems really stupid. But there's nothing else I can really say about that. I'm going to keep my eyes on this and really see and mine out what other things come out about it. Because even though this is stupid, it's interesting to see the lengths that people will go to just because they like a politician or they like, you know, someone like Donald Trump. Is like, this is why they say y'all are a cult. Because y'all do shit like this. For real. Yeah, that's really all I got for this video. I mean, honestly, I shouldn't even have to make a video about this. This should have been like this idea should have been some weird Reddit post that gets downvoted into oblivion. That's all it should have been. But look, we're here. You guys already know the drill. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. Comment down below. Tell me your thoughts. Look, I know a good majority of you don't want to be like the president for a third term. For those of you that do, I mean, you could talk about it if you really want to. I'll be interested to hear your point of view as to why, and then how they would be able to do that. You know, I'm always open for different points of view. So, you know, never gonna shoot you down. And subscribe if you want more. Peace.